Hello. In the 14 years since I've been discussing transparency, privacy, issues of freedom, and especially in my book, The Transparent Society, there came a period that was especially creepy right after 9/11. People wrote to me from all over the world, some of them saying just P206. And I realized I should go to page 206 of The Transparent Society, and I saw a section in which I had said, roughly, suppose someday terrorists ever brought down, say, both World Trade Center towers. What would the Attorney General of the United States then ask for in new powers to see and therefore protect us? And I went on to describe what seemed at the time to be a reasonable projection of what became the Patriot Act, or a milder version of the Patriot Act. Well, the point of that exercise was not to have a Twilight Zone moment and predict the future. In fact, the terrorists had tried to bring down both towers earlier with a bomb in the basement. So that's not the really interesting thing about that. It was the prediction of the Patriot Act and what people would do about it. Now, naturally, people were upset about the movement away from certain protections of our freedom. Everybody in our civilization, it seems, is worried about Big Brother. We've all been brought up on George Orwell's 1984, on mythic elements in all of our movies, in all of our myths. A decent Republican is afraid of Big Brother being caused by snooty intellectuals and faceless government bureaucrats. A decent Democrat is afraid of Big Brother arriving from the return of 4,000 years of feudal aristocracy or faceless corporations. We tend to ignore each other's bugaboo while we scream at each other. But in fact, both are right. Big Brother could come from any direction, and so it was right and proper for the ACLU and many other defenders to go after the Patriot Act and see, is this really necessary? Unfortunately, the ACLU, though their hearts were in the right place, attacked all the wrong parts of the Patriot Act. They attacked the parts that enabled our government's paid protectors to see better. As if our freedom and our safety from tyranny is based upon blinding the elites, blinding the mighty. And they were never able to show a single time in human history when anybody ever did that. Whenever anybody ever succeeded in limiting the power of the powerful by causing them to know less. Meanwhile, untouched virtually were the parts of the Patriot Act that I found particularly odious. The parts that increased secrecy, the parts that removed our government protectors from accountability and supervision. And this is one of the principal points of contention between me and many other people who absolutely share the fundamental value of wanting to protect the Enlightenment, of wanting to protect American freedoms, of wanting to protect our individual freedom and privacy. The point that I and a few others have been trying to make is you don't stop the dog from guarding you. Because the next time something bad happens, the government, our paid protectors, are going to say, this stopped us from protecting you. And we'll be pushed back by public panic. They will be allowed to see more, and it's a ratchet effect. It will never be brought back to the state it was before. The powers that be will always be able to see more and more and more. Partly because of the ratchet effect, and partly because of technological determinism. The fact of the matter is that, as I've said when I discussed Brin's corollary of Moore's law, that the cameras are getting smaller, cheaper, faster, and more mobile every day. Nothing will stop this. Tell me a way in which this will be stopped. It can't be. The elites will have these cameras. If we panic and pass laws against them, it will guarantee that we won't have them. The key is looking back. The key is the same thing that brought us our freedom in the first place. aggressively, assertively, pugnaciously, insisting that the watchdogs be watched, that they come with a choke chain to remind them they're a dog and not the wolf. Let me give a little historical perspective on this. 400 or 500 years ago, glass lenses and movable type were invented. They vastly expanded these prosthetics, vastly expanded what we were able to see and what we were able to know. Since then, we've gained newspapers, we've gained telescopes, radio, television. Every generation has had increases in its ability to see and to know. Nothing has ever prevented them from moving forward, especially in free societies. In a few years, you'll be walking down the street and the corner of your eyeglasses will have a camera on it. It's already almost here. There are prototypes already. How are you going to prevent it? This camera is going to scan people's faces and look them up on face registries. Even if these face registries are illegal, the elites will still have them. And write on the inside faces of these glasses captions. You'll never be at a loss for who you're talking to ever again, because at least their name will show up, overlaid on their chest, possibly a few sentences of their own personal profile. Or if you program your glasses differently, a few sentences of dissenting opinions from their ex-spouses. It'll be fun, it'll be useful, it'll be confusing, and it'll be interesting. It'll be dangerous in its own way. But what am I actually talking about here? I'm talking about the return of the village, because most of our ancestors, almost all of them, lived in smaller societies in which they knew everybody around them. They simply knew them. The stranger was rare and kind of creepy. We can fit about 5,000 names and faces, some people as many as 30,000, in this wet matter that evolved back then in those days. When you have these glasses, you're going to be able to do business with a handshake with some shopkeeper in Thailand when you're visiting. And the handshake's all that'll be needed because your eyeglasses will witness the deal. And you'll have already tapped your glasses and you'll have seen his credit rating, his credibility scores as a seller. He'll have seen your credit rating. You'll know each other's reputation, for well or ill, in this new world. And there will be bad aspects to this. We all know about the villages of old that were creepy and evil. Most of them, in fact, dominated by the local gentry, the local lord, and bullied by the local cops who were thugs hired by the lord, and terrified of the local gossip. But we have in our minds the American image of another kind of village, like in Andy Hardy movies, where people know everything that's going on, but people don't oppress each other. And you can hold the elites, even Judge Hardy, accountable. The secret to this is seen in that great old song. Look it up if you don't remember it. Harper Valley PTA. When the gossips start beating up on a single mom, and she goes up on the Harper Valley PTA and lets them have it because she knows their skeletons too. That's how you keep the bad village from happening. By being able to look back. On 9/11, we were the heroes. Nothing the professionals did worked. It was citizens who were resilient and used knowledge to save the day and win the war on that day. We can do this. We can keep our freedom if we don't panic. We can help and be the citizens who help our paid protectors while keeping an eye on them. If we make a new social contract that's similar to the old one, a new social contract that says, trust us, all of us. Trust because we can verify.